This is Bhatia, and I'm here in front of you to tell you something about the history of post-Gupta period. Post-Gupta period's polity, religion, and culture. And we will cover here in this unit 8 and 9 the polity, religion, and culture in the post-Gupta period. Yes, you can see in the India map the empire of Gupta period. You can see this period under study was dominated by the reigns of Guptas, Pushyabhutis in north of Vakatikas, Kadambas, Chalukyas of Badami in Deccan, and the Pallavas in southern Andhra and Tamil Nadu. There were, of course, a number of small kingdoms and chieftaincies in many parts of the countries, as you heard about Palas, Pratiharas, Cholas, Chalukyas, Chahamans. The major sources for the study of the polity of this period are, first of all, inscriptions. Inscriptions that are connected with the hard rocks, hard surface, okay, written some material on the hard stone, caves, and etc. Next source is Dharm Shastra's literature that was written by the priest, written by the saints, sages, etc. Dharm Shastras. Harsh Charita of Barnabhat. Accounts of Chinese travelers like Faxian, Huan Seng. These are the Chinese pilgrims who came to India in search of uh, Buddhas, uh, Buddha's relics. Broadly speaking, the polity of this period was marked by hereditary monarchies ruling over small territories with one or two of them assuming wider sovereign status now and then. For example, Harsha had wide areas under his control because in this unit, we shall discuss the main features of political organization in the period, in which period 300 CE and 700 CE. Between this time period, we will cover all of this. We shall also try to show how these features mark a change from the political organization of earlier period now, indicate the important changes that were taking place also in the political organization in the country. First of all, what is kingship? Kingship. Most of the country was ruled by kings. Only in a few areas there lingered on the Ganas form of government. Ganas means tribal republic. This is also a form of government. After the military expeditions of Samudragupta in North India early in 4th century CE, most of these tribal republics almost disappeared from the political scene. Madra and Yodhyas in Punjab, Abhiraj in central India, they are etc. are not heard of again. We have not heard something about these two tribal groups in India. Some of the tribal chieftains also slowly became monarchies. The king took pompous titles like Parameshwar, Rajadhiraja, Parambhattarka. These type of titles which were adopted by the kings to indicate their superiority over many other smaller rulers. During this period, the divine right theory also came into war. Divine right theory because the king has given them so many titles of divine just like Parambhattarika, just like Parmeshwara. This is a divine like title which was given themselves the kings. The king in keeping with this theory held such titles as Prithvi Vallabha means the beloved of earth goddess. He is called the fifth Lokpal as other existing four Lokpalas, guardians of the four cardinal directions east, west, north, south, were namely Kuber, Varuna, Indra, and Yama. These were the four Lokpalas or guardians of four cardinal directions: Kuber, Varuna, Indra, and Yama. Now we are going to study about the political organization. As this heading indicates that the politically the king is the head of the proper political organization. As compared to modern period, there is no clear evidence for the existence of a central monetary position, means a council of ministers, which were having to advise the king. There were, however, many high officials who were at times called mantri. The other designations for high officials were, what was that? The names Sandhi Vigrahika, who was Minister for Foreign Affairs, Sandhi Vigrahika. War and Peace, Mahabalaधिकृता, Mahadandanayaka. These both names of which donated superior post in the army, Mahadandanayaka and Mahabalaधिकृता. Sometimes the same person was holding more than one such Allahabad period in Allahabad pillar inscription of Samudragupta is said to have been Sandhi Vigrahika as well as Mahadandanayaka. They both titles were given to Harisena. And why these titles are given to Harisena? Because he has composed a famous pillar inscription about Samudragupta. In praise of Samudragupta, he has done some praise titles, some praise words to the pillar inscription. Which pillar inscription? Allahabad pillar inscription. You can see the main pictures of Gupta Empire. Center, map, right side elephant, left side the temple of Gupta Empire, and downside also the temple. What about the army? If a king is having a seat, and this is because of the army. If the king is strong, that is also because of the army. So army plays a very important role in the life of a king, both for maintaining internal peace, for defending against external aggression. A standing army became a regular feature during this period. It was noted above that there were a number of high military officials and they were obviously in charge of this army. High military officials. Cavalry was an important element of this army. Some maritime states like Pallavas in the south also had army because the Pallavas were not the very big kings. They were known as the chieftains, and a chief has no army. But in the Pallavas, about Pallavas, we can say that the Pallavas in the south also had navy. Chariots do not figure prominently during this time. The royal army was supplemented by the militia of feudatory chiefs known as samantas. We will study administration divisions. If a king is ruling on a very big empire, then the main duty of the king that is the division in administration. How he can divide his administration and how he can handle his administration. This is a very important decision of a particular king. The country was organized into many divisions for administrative purpose. The highest unit among these territorial divisions was called Bhukti, which was under the charge of high official called Uparika, means highest charge. Sometimes prince were also in charge of some bhuktis. Prince also. Vishya was the next administrative division below, which was the lowest unit, and the lowest unit was the village. In certain areas, Vishya was also known as Rashtra. Means you can say Rashtra or Vishwa. In eastern India, the Vishyas were also divided into Vithis over and above the village. At the level of Vishya, the officials called Vishyapatis means locally powerful people. Vishyapatis were locally powerful people. They played a leading role in the administration. In each village, a headman, village elders managed the local affairs. In urban settlements or in towns, there were a number of craft and merchant guilds to look after the administration. The role of Samantas was very good, was very important at that time. And what is Samanta? Semi-independent local chief called Samantas. Semi-independent local chiefs were called Samantas were an important feature of the polity of this time. We have already read that Samudragupta conquered the and subjugated a number of territories. A lot of territories he has under control. Some of the rulers of these territories, which were on the fringe of the Gupta Empire, were made subordinate allies of the king. They became feudatories, so to say, of Gupta king, paying periodical tribute to the latter. This continued in the post-Gupta period too. Some of Samantas presented the king their daughters in marriage. They were obliged to pay homage to king by personally attending his court. The king, in turn, recognized their right to continue to rule over their own territories, and for this, he also gave them charters. If the king feel happy and he had given the charters to them, to the Samantas, because Samantas offered a lot of things in front of kings. That's why the king has offered a lot of things to the Samantas. These were the give and take. These subordinate rulers were also obliged to send their men to fight in the king's army during the time of war. Because at the time of war, the king need army, and army was given by the Samantas to the king. That's why Samantas played a very important role at that time. Subject to the above obligations, the feudatories or Samantas were left to look after the administration of their territories. Taxation. Tax is the very important thing for the king. What was the king? The government. The government got most of its revenue through taxation. Land tax called bhaga, bhoga, etc. These two words given to the taxes that time taken by the king. Paga and bhoga were the main items, and land tax actually increased through the centuries. As trade and commerce seem to have declined during this period, commercial taxes are not found prominent. That's why. It may be noted here that as far as the land granted to officials, as far as lands granted to officials and priests are concerned, the government lost much of its revenue from those lands because they were lack of taxes. You can see the coins, what was written on the coin and what type of pictures was given on the coin at that time. Gold coins were introduced at that time. Judicial system. What was the judicial system at that time? As you know, the king was the most upper judge of that time. Judicial system was more developed now compared to earlier times. Many law codes, treatises were compiled during this period. And the Dharmashastras laboratory deal with legal matters because Dharmashastras were also known as the law books of that time, Dharmashastras. There were different codes like Karana, Adhikarana, and Dharmasana. These were known as the codes. Criminal and civil cases were clearly differentiated from each other. Criminal cases are different and civil cases are different. Law regarding property and inheritance were elaborate. Of course, justice was based on Varna classification in society. Varna classification. For the same kind of crime, culprit belonged to a higher Varna got less punishment than those belonging to lower Varna got much punishment at that time. Because casteism mattered a lot at that time. Dharmashastras also insist that local usage and practice of different guilds and castes should be given due weight while dispensing justice. Means the Varna system was prevailed in Dharma Shastras also. That's why they follow Varna system. And in today's language, we can say casteism they belong. What was the religion of that time? They believe in so many gods at that time. You are now familiar with certain broad stages. Religious history in early India. Archaeological material suggests that certain elements of Indian religions were present in archaeological cultures, just dating prior to Vedas. Means they have given priority to the Vedas, hymns of Rig Veda. They gave us for the first time an idea of how prayers were offered to the deities to please them. However, the simple prayers of Rigveda gave peacefully gradually to complex rituals dominated by Brahmins. And one can notice the growth of a close relationship between Brahmins and the rulers and the warriors in this situation because these three things were very important at that time: ruler, Brahmins, and warriors. Okay, you can see the temple of that particular time. Which time? Post Gupta period. Emergence of Bhakti. Um, that time, this cult has also accepted by the people. This cult has also emergence in that particular time. Brahmanism had to accept the growing importance of new gods like Shiva and Vishnu, side by side with Vedic gods like Indra and Varuna. It also assimilated many other popular deities like Vasudeva, Skanda, and so on. All these led to the growth of Bhakti cult. They connected to Bhakti cult. An important characteristic of later Brahmanism was its capacity to adopt new trends. This became necessary to meet the challenge of heretical sect which were opposed to Brahmanism. Besides adopting new gods, Brahmanism gradually shifted its emphasis from Vedic rituals to bhakti, which implied the cultivation and development of personal relationship between God and the devotee. A monotheistic concept of God means believe in several gods. Monotheistic concept means believe in several gods, with either Shiva or Vishnu as his manifestation, and bhakti to him was gaining strength. Soon bhakti became the dynamic force of later Brahmanism, also called Hinduism. Called Hinduism. Syncretism of deities. How they syncretize their deities. Deities means the statue and the idols of the particular gods and goddesses. An important characteristic of New Brahmanism was its genius to syncretize many local deities to evolve a monotheistic great god. Syncretism in this context will mean that deities worshipped at different places by different people were recognized as identical and were worshipped as manifestation of the same supreme deity. That's why Vasudeva was identified with Vishnu, minor Vedic god Narayana, a god of obscure origin mentioned in Brahmin literature. Then Vishnu was closely connected with the name of Krishna because 10 incarnations of Vishnu has given in our Bhakti cult. 10 incarnation. And so many pictures has given also. Vishnu was closely connected with the name of Krishna here, who represented the fusion between martial hero and flute playing pastoral deity, means Gawala. Vishnu could assimilate many other cults. The cult of divine boar, which prevailed among some of the tribes of Malwa, cult of Parshurama, Brahman hero Rama, great hero of Ramayana. Then Vishnu rose to the status of universal God in the Bhagavad Gita. universal God in Bhagavad Gita. You can see the temple of that particular time. Incorporation of tribal rituals. Incorporation, because as all were believing in Brahmanism, they all were all people were believing was believing at that time Brahmanism, Bhakti cult. Now this is the incorporation of tribal rituals also. Just like you have listened about the Nishada, what was the name of that particular name? Eklavya. This is also connected with this. Eklavya. Parshuram. Yes, you have listened a lot of things about. Incorporation of tribal rituals, some left in this. Another important feature of later Brahmanism, incorporation of tribal rituals, keeping the Vedic yajna rites supreme only in the theory. In course of time, as time is getting past, the merits derived out of these new rituals were equated with the merit of Vedic yajna. The sacred spot of tribals were included as new places of pilgrimage, with suitable myths to make them respectable. Means, as a story of Eklavya, you have listened about Eklavya and Dronacharya and five Pandavas. This is not the particular time. You also have listened about that story. The Itihasa, Puranas are full of such material of stories which inspire bhakti to a personal goal. Protest and reform in the bhakti movement of South India and its later transformation. Protest. How they protest and how they reforms in bhakti movement. Brahmins were obsessed with caste regulation because Brahmins were following casteism, Varna system. Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, they were given by the Brahmins. The Bhakti movement not only ignored caste but also include man and woman of all caste. Among Nainars and Alwars, these were the two cults which were prevailed in Bhakti movement. Nainars and Alwars. Among Nainars and the devotee of Shiva, what was the name? Karaikal Ammayar. That was the name of a woman. And Nandanar. They too were the women. They were member of depressed class. They also add on in that particular time. Among the Alvars means devotee of Shiva. No, Alvars devotee of Vishnu. Andal. Andal was a woman and Timappan was a humanist from a low caste. They have connected low caste people to the particular time. Thus, the whole movement carried elements of protest and reforms. However, it soon became part of establishment, lost, lost its early character, and got engulfed by Brahminical orthodoxy. This was Brahminical orthodoxy. The Bhakti movement ran parallel to the growth and consolidation of early medieval monarchies, first under the Pallavas and then under the Cholas, Pandyas, and Cheras. Many rock temples were cut and structural temples were built for Shiva and Vishnu. You also can see these type of temples in south like Tamil Nadu and so on. You can see rock cut temples of Shiva and Vishnu because these two gods were prevalent at that time. The people were following these two gods, Shiva and Vishnu, Alvars and Nainars, throughout the Tamil Nadu by almost all the reigning monarchs. Emergence of Tantritism, religious practice which originated in the most primitive fertility rites of non-Aryan tribal circles later came to be known as Tantritism. It not only infiltrated into the other civilized cult, just like Jainism, Buddhism, Shaivism, Vaishnavism, etc., but also emerged as a challenge and reaction to these cults. as all of them had developed vested interest and had become parts of the establishment by the early medieval period. Jainism, Buddhism, Shaivism, and Vaishnavism. You can see the sculpture work which were given in the walls of the temples at that time. Main features of Tantricism. What were the main features of Tantricism? Women clearly enjoyed a higher status in all tribal belts, but in Sanskrit text, they were bracketed with the Shudras. It became necessary for them to raise their traditional ritual status by means of tantric initiations. The reason for the importance of female deities in Tantricism is that in all the tribal belts, the cult of Mother Goddess was widely prevalent because these aboriginal goddess entered into Brahmanism as Shakti, Buddhism as Tara, Jainism as Yakshini. These were the names given to the mother goddess in the religious cult. The Godava, a Prakrit text of early medieval period, associate Kali and Parvati with such tribals as the Kols and Sabaras. Shakti is known as Matangi. Matangi, goddess of Matanga tribe. Chandali, goddess of Chandalas. At the end of Gupta period, many tribal goddesses were observed into higher cult, together with many magical rites and a new form of animal sacrifices. Yes, all these increased in importance throughout the early medieval period. 6th century CE. Culture in the post Gupta period. What was the culture at that time? As I told you about religious, I told you about the political, and I told you about the changes which was given in post Gupta period. And what was the culture changes in post Gupta period? In the field of art, architecture, literature, poetry, the post Gupta period witnessed great achievements. As I told you about the Allahabad pillar inscription, Allahabad pillar inscription. Hari Sena composed a very long poem in praise of his king Samudragupta, and he has given some lines on this Allahabad pillar inscription. The beginnings of temple construction can be traced to Gupta period, as briefly mentioned in Unit 2. From the post-Gupta phase, we have the evidence of profusion of temple buildings in both North and South India. The scale and grandeur of temples also grew manifold. Many architectural features, such as ground plans, evolved from the earlier styles. Flat roofs was now replaced by tall central tower known as shikhara. Because earlier we were using shikhara and now the flat roof was replaced. And we also see smaller shikharas over subsidiary shrines accompanying the main shrine. Puranic Hinduism that is reflected in the Puranic literature often depict a main deity such as Vishnu, Devi, being accompanied by a host of attendant deities, and has becomes evident in the temple complex dedicated to them. And in the summary, we can say that in post-Gupta period, there were so many changes in the political system and in the religious manner and in cultural manner also. Because after post-Gupta period, there had been construction of so many temples at that time. The temples of the main deities Shiva and Vishnu, and Mother Goddess was also prevalent at that time. Mother Goddess like Kali, just like Parvati, just like Mother Goddess Shakti. These names were given to the Mother Goddess because in the earlier period the importance of woman was not prevalent at that time. But with the Mother Goddess name, the woman has given good manner in that time. Monarchy had become a regular feature throughout the length and breadth of the subcontinent. Regular division of each state territory for administrative purpose, hierarchy of officials forming the bureaucracy, Standing army, sort of revenue, taxation system may be found in all kingdoms, particularly in central part of each sovereign state. When compared to modern polity, the king's government during this period did not possess effective power because in the modern period they were having effective, powerful rulers, but in this time they were not effective, powerful rulers and control throughout its territory. In this unit, you have seen how Brahmanism had to accept the growing importance of new gods, many other popular deities also. Bhakti cult emerged out various religious cults, Alvars and Nainars, and this was mainly done in South India. Caste regulation ignored, and women had a higher status in Bhakti movement. Tantricism emerged as an important force in early medieval period. Was the unit 8, and now we are going to cover unit 9. And what was the name of unit 9? Emergence of Rajputs. As you also have been listen about Rajputs, rise of Rajputs, and introduction of Rajputs. So many political changes in Indian history has been marked by the dynastic shift because we have studied about post-Gupta period, Gupta period, modern period, most post-modern period, and now this term is totally changed, and we have given the name. We have taken the name Rajputas. Each dynasty has had its own genealogy, chronology, represented its rule in India. Centralized polities denoted unified rule over a vast area under one political power, in contrast to decentralization, which represented centrical regional tendencies. Themes such as state formation, structure of polity, nature of power, political control, etc., they have been a subject of historical studies. In this unit, our aim is to introduce the emergence of Rajputs in India in the form of regional political powers, and especially in Rajasthan, Gujarat, and MP, Madhya Pradesh. What was the meaning and the significance of the term Rajput? This term, from where this term came, the term Rajput is derived from Sanskrit root Rajputra. Rajputra means son of the king. The Prakrit form of term Rajputra are variously known as Rawat, Raut, Raul, and Ravan. These were the Pali form of term. A transformation in connotation of the term is noticeable from 7th century CE onwards, as it began to be used in literary text in the sense of land honor rather than son of king. In the Harsh Charita, this was the name of the book, and the name of the writer of that Harsh Charita was Banabhatta. In which century it is written by whom? In Harsh Charita, Banabhatta was written, and in 7th century. The term has been used in the sense of a noble. Noble means mantri or land owning chief. Means the chief which was having a lot part of land. Land owning chief. In Kadambari also it is used for person of noble descent who were appointed by the king as local rulers. Means PM has appointed so many chief ministers or member of parliaments. Yes, these type of local rulers were appointed by the king. In the capacity of local rulers, they might have naturally governed as large portion of land under them. That's why played an active role in political and administration system of the state. In Raj Tarangini, the term Rajputra is used in the sense of mere land owner, claiming birth, and they have given birth from 36 clan of Rajputs. There were 36 clans, means 36 vansh of Rajputs. The reference of 36 clans clearly denotes their existence by 12th century CE. We are talking about 12th century. Rajputra is a military chief. We can say Rajputra, military chief also. The term Rajput is derived from Sanskrit root Rajputra and the meaning of that son of the king. Prakrit form of term Rajputra, Rawat, Raut, Raul, Raval. They were known as Rajputras. They were known as Rajputas. We have covered this. You can see the picture of Rajputas, how they said Rajputras as the son of the kings and officials. The position of Rajputras was distinct under the Gherwals, Chamans, as the title was usually applied to the actual son of reigning kings. They exercised special powers in administration. Colonel James Todd has studied the clan names of above sources and prepared his own list, removing some vernacular errors. However, the comparison of above list with those of original literary text reveals Todd has also include the tribal groups of foreign origin and even those Rajput clans which had originated quite later as subclans. That is also added. You can see the picture of Rajputas. You have seen so many pictures, so many movies about Rajputas. I have also watched Agnikula, origin of Rajput. That is also a myth. Agnikul. Chand Bardai was a writer of Prithviraj Raso. In his book Prithviraj Raso, Chand Bardai refers that Chalukyas, Pratiharas, Parmaras, Chahamans, they have their origin from the fire pit of Vashisht. According to Prithviraj Raso, Vishwamitra, Agastya, Vashisht, and other sages began a great sacrifice at Mount Abu. Daityas means demons. Interrupted it, and then Vashishtha created from the sacrificial pit three warriors in succession. Three warriors. Who were three warriors? Padihara means Pratihara, Solanki, and Parmara. These three warriors, which was created by the Vashishtha. And why he has Vashishtha Guru was created these three warrior groups. Why? Because two because the demons interrupt at that time. So many demons, so many daityas interrupt in their puja, interrupt in their prayer, and that's why Vashishtha has created them. The Bardic text also mentioned that none of the created warriors, however, emergence of Rajputs succeed in completely removing the demons. B.N.S. Yadav has traced the emergence of early Rajput clans in Rajasthan. Early Rajput clans and Gujarat during the period of political and social confusion and chaos, which may be characterized by a declining economy following the invasions and settlement of foreigners and collapse of Gupta Empire. When the Gupta Empire was collapsed and declining at that time, so many invaders had entered into India at that time. The rising feudal tendencies. Feudals were also rise at that time. According to him, created favorable circumstances for the emergence of ruling land aristocracy connected intimately with land. Attached to this background, he traced out the rise of the military clans of Gurjaras, Gohilots, Chahmans, Chapas. They were in northern India during 650 to 750 CE. However, their rise as independent ruling clans may be traced back to the 8th century when Gurjar Pratiharas, as the first Rajput ruling clan, established their hold over Kannauj and other regions in North India. Who was the name of that particular? Gurjar Pratiharas. The rise of Rajput states, tripartite struggle, emergence of Gurjar Pratiharas. Means tripartite struggle means the three-side struggle at that time. Who were the three sides? We will study in this paragraph. The post-Harsha period. After the death of Harsha, post-Harsha period was a period of great political turmoil of North India. Kannauj, which was seat of Harsha, remained a bone of contention. Means they connected with the Kannauj because Harsha has become the capital to his this Kannauj. Each one of the political powers was having an eye on it for the occupation. The major political powers which entered into struggle, generally known as tripartite struggle, means three-side struggle, were the Gurjar Pratiharas, Palas, and Rashtrakutas. Okay, in these three groups, we can say they have fought in tripartite struggle. The results of this struggle was not decisive. Temporarily, the Pratihara king Nag Bhatt boldly annexed Kannauj. In 8th century CE, the Pratiharas gained the supreme power in the north after the conquest of Kannauj. Okay, you can see the army. You can see the how richness in the army of Kannauj, in the army of Rajputas. Major Rajput states after Gurjar Pratiharas. Because it's at this time we have read about the Gurjar Pratiharas has won Kannauj. And he had the which place Kannauj had become very important at that time in taxation, in agriculture, in economic situation. He has become very strong at that time. Next is Gehdawalas. The Gehdawalas occupied Kannauj in 11th century, 9th century, 10th century, and after 910 in 11th century, Kannauj was occupied by Gehdawalas. From Kannauj, they ruled over the major portion of Gangetic Doab during 1090 to 1193. Who ruled the Kannauj? In the Kannauj, who ruled Gehdawalas? From where? Gangetic Doab. Because Doab is the area where agriculture is very good and the irrigation facility is also best at that place particularly. The Gehadwala king Jayachandra is usually styled as the king of Banaras by the Muslim historians owing to his intimate connection with the city of Banaras, perhaps as habitual abode due to its religious importance, its religious geographically on account of its central location in India. The Gehdowalas had bitter struggle and enmity with the Chahmans. Major Rajput states after Gurjar Pratiharas. Firstly, we have heard about Gehdowalas. Now, Chahmans. From where Chahmans came? The Chahman came into prominence after the decline of Gurjar Pratiharas. After the decline of Gurjar Pratiharas, Chahmans came. There were numerous branches of Chahmans, but some of them were unsubsequently feudatories of Parthians, Pratiharas of Avanti and Kannauj. It also remains a fact that during 750 to 950 CE, most the regions ruled by Chahmans formed part of Pratihara domination. 973, they became partially independent. They became partially independent. Who? Chahmans and Gurjar Pratiharas. Now Chandelas. This is not Chandalas. This is Chandelas. Another contemporary political power was the Chandelas, one of the feudatories of Gurjar Pratihara. The Chandelas ruled over central India between 10 to 13th century CE. Their territory was known as Jijaka Bhukti, means modern Bundelkhand. Their territorial extension varied from time to time, but the important places which remain including in their territory was Kalanjar, Khajuraho, Mahoba, of Ajaygarh. These were the name important places connected to these places. Next is Parmaras, another contemporary Rajput political power. The Parmars, you can say Parmars, they emerged in the region of Gujarat, Malwa, southern Rajputana, out of bitter struggle between the Gurjar Pratiharas and Rashtrakutas. The territory ruled over by the Parmaras of Malwa, including Malwa proper and adjoining districts. The principal areas of influence under the Parmaras were spread over modern cities and towns of Ujjain, Dhar, Bhilsa, Bhojpur, Shergarh, Udaipur, Mandu, and Dipalpur. They were the places and connected to the, and they were modern sites connected to the Parmaras. Parmars. Now, Kalchuris. You have also heard about Kalchuris? Kaljuris who were in service of Gurjar Pratiharas as feudatories. Feudatories means Samantas, and Samantas were given their military to the particular king at the time of war on the basis of help, because Samantas was the post which was given by the king, and the king has given some states, one state, two state, three state, to that particular Samanta, and in behalf of this help, Samantas are ready to give military at the time of war. Okay, Gurjar Pratharas as feudatories also did not hesitate to declare their independence. They have not hesitate in declare their independence, that we are independent ruler. They were also known as Kalchuris of Chedi, Tripuri. They ruled the Chedi region from their capital Tripuri. Have you heard about Tripura? Tripuri, modern Tevar near Jabalpur, Madhya Pradesh. In the east, the central of Kalchuri power was Gorakhpur. In the east, okay, the center of Kalchuri power was Gorakhpur. Gorakhpur is in Hindustan, in Uttar Pradesh. However, they lost some of their power owing to the rise of Gehdawals in east. Later on, the central Indian dominions of Kalchuris had extended far up to the districts of Prayagraj and Varanasi, which is connected to Banaras. In their efforts of extension, they came into conflict with the Parmaras and the Palas. They create conflict with Parmaras and Palas. Guhilas. Guhilas earlier served the Pratiharas as feudatories. Okay? For Pratiharas, they were Samantas. Who? Guhilas. They succeed in declaring themselves independent ruler in Mewar during the second half of 12th century. Last vestige of Guhila power was Maharana Hamir, who recovered Chittor from the Muslim after it had been lost by Raval Ratnasimha in 1303 CE, and thus revived the lost glory of dynasty of Mewar from some time. Hamir occupied Chittor, ousted the Chauhans, and laid out the foundation of Sisodia rule that time. His influence was recognized by the ruler of Mewar, Amber, and others as far as Gwalior, Raisen, Chanderi, and Kalpi. Kutch Pagatas. The Kutch Pagatas were at the first Samantas of Gurjar Pratiharas. They made themselves master of the fort of Gwalior after defeating the ruler of Kannauj. Okay, during the 10th and 11th century, the region of Eastern Rajputana, Gwalior residency was overruled by three dependent branches of Kutch Pagates. The Kashwaha of Dubkund. The Kachwahas of Dubkund were subordinates to Chandelas. You can see the map of Rajput, how much territory Rajput has been covered at that time. They were very much ambitious and they have ruled a lot of places at that time, a lot of states at that time. Northeastern Rajasthan. Later Rajput We have studied about Rajput. Now they are later Rajput states of western and northeastern Rajasthan. Being defeated by Muslim invaders, at that time Muslim invade in India. The Rajput clan, Delhi Sultanate time period is going on. The Rajput clan sought refuge in the protected land of Rajasthan. Full of the hilly regions and desert area, they could well provide abundant security to its immigrants. That's why, considering the geographical importance of this region, the prince belonged to Gohila, Panwar, Chauhan, Sonigara, Solanki, Parmara, and Deora clans, carved out their small principalities at several places at western Rajasthan. Western Rajasthan like Khet, Barmer, Sojat, Mandor, Jalore, Beenmal, etc. Rathors, Bhattis, they were also the post Rajput rulers. Rathors emerged as political power by having possession of a number of villages in that area, ultimately annexing Khed and Raja Pratapsi of Gohila clan. Bhattis, Bhattis or Bhatis, you can say. The northeastern Rajasthan was ruled by Rajput tribe of Bhattis during 12th century. The main center of their activities was Jaisalmer. And in Rathors, the Khed and what was the name? Bhadrajan, Kodana, Meheva, Barmer, Pokhran, Jetaran, Sivana, and large part of Nagpur district. Some areas of Bikaner also prevalent at that time, where Rathors were ruling at that. The Rathor rule continued over these territories up to 1529, and that is the date of death of Rao Ganga. You have heard about. And what is the proliferation of Rajput clans? It is appeared from the literary and inscriptional evidence of early medieval period, which mention certain members belonging to Rajput clan or descent. That the structure of Rajput polity may be defined in terms of proliferation. At 145 emergence of Rajputs, the later stage, the inter-clan relationship governing the distribution of power, consolidating the structure of Rajput polity as well. The emergence of minor clans, subdivision of major clans, was a result of proliferation. The proliferation of Rajput clans with their establishment in different areas led to the further extension of Rajput fort. It thus widened the process of emergence of Rajputs, which may safely be termed as Rajputization. Means so many clans which were connected to Rajputs at that time. Okay? Political and military system of the Rajputs, how they maintain their military administration, they maintain their execution, and they maintain their judicial system. How they maintain. None of them is possibly found interested with any administrative post. Their involvement in administration is borne out indirectly in some of the land grants. They are sometimes found granting ingredients, land grants with the formal permission of the king. The ministerial council acted as consultative body in all important matters of polity. The office of the ministers was generally hereditary. Hereditary. Rajput forts you have also seen. Okay, Rajput forts and the strongholds, how they hold their strong power in their forts. They make their forts to live. Rajput made the forts because they have a big importance in front of all society. What was the magnanimity and the impregnability of these forts attracted the Muslim of besieged them. These forts served as great means of defense of the Rajput. As they fought with their Muslim adversaries from the walls of these forts, releasing the strategic and militarizing importance of forts. Rajput rulers paid special attention to possess them and erect several new ones in order to strengthen their military power. Yes, the fort of Mandor is regarded to have originally constructed by the Pratiharas around 7th century. Chandelas were great builders of number of strong forts and fortresses. Chauhans, Parmars, both were outstanding builders of forts in Rajasthan. And what about the summary of this? Because they have in 7th and 12th century Rajput polity presents a picture of disunited India. After the death of Harsha, the first Rajput clan of Gurjar Pratiharas, who were earlier the feudatory chief of Harsha in Ujjain, emerged as an independent political and military power to rule over Kannauj and the neighboring regions of northern India. The political and the military strength was thus to be regarded as a major pointer at this stage in the emergence of Rajputs. At the second stage, the emergence of feudatories means that the emergence of Samantas of Gurjar Pratiharas in different areas of central and western India as independent clan holders was also a ramification of the same trend of the procession of supreme military strength, which led to the independence or dominance of politically and militarily superior clans over the less powerful ones, because they were not very much powerful. And we also listen about Rajput that they were not very much powerful at that time, but the military strength and the possession of supreme military strength and the ramification of the same trend, they both things have made them important in front of one. The politically and militarily strength that was not that much important, that much not that much strengthened at that time. We are talking about 7th to 12th century when Rajputs ruled at that time, and they were the very big reason for the disunited India after the death of Harsha. Okay, and now we have completed our Rajput and we have completed post Gupta period. We have completed a lot of things related to unit 8 and 9. We have completed the states related to Rajputas. We have completed states related to post Gupta period. So many temples had made at that time. We have completed a lot of things related to that. So now it's a time to end the class, and we will start in our next unit, in our next class, unit 10 and 11. Okay, thank you and have a nice day.